Good evening, everyone. Nance here with Steph, RD2L Masters Division 2 action. Steph, how you doing this five evening?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent, thank you. We are very, very proud to present to you tonight a Division 2 matchup between the Floffy Boys and the Headbonkers. Both of these teams have not yet known the taste of defeat this season. They are both undefeated, and unfortunately for one of them, that will change tonight.
Is Pudding on this team? Oh no, he's not. Okay,
Pudding is not, in
that
fact,
sucks.
on this team, but we have a number of RD2L regulars, that are going to be represented on both teams. But of course, this is the Masters Division, a little bit different setup where the average MMR is about 5K in this league. And we have two teams that actually have different designs on how they have set themselves up. First with the
Yo,
Floffy Boys.
Funzo's.
Oh, of course, go
I
ahead.
think Funzo's an offlane player. He's pretty legit. I remember playing with. It was me, him, and Bobby.
Funzo has a long career in the off lane, but he's actually playing four position on Floffy Boys.
Oh,
And Andre
seems
slash
fun.
off, I think that'll be how his name is displayed in this. Andre actually recently stood in for my MD2L team. He plays a number of different positions too. He stood in for us in the off lane. He's actually the carry player, the one position for Floffy Boys. So we have some interesting flexible positions, which is awesome because that could lead to some very flexible hero picks by both of these squads, which
And
we're
then we
really looking
got
forward to.
Biden Sissy Slapper. I kind of like that.
It's
This
quite.
dude looks like he plays some legendary Dota based on his name.
I mean, he's ready to go. We're familiar with Cynical, of course, be from the
Yep.
RD2L league, and the lobby is going through right now. Should get right into the draft.
I think they just need to ban Wind for the other side versus Funzo's team. I
Well,
know
we'll see what
Funzo
actually
plays a
goes through here.
a
Why
dirty Wind.
while we set up the first couple bands, I do want to run through, and I'll try to run through this again. But the setup of these two teams is very, very different. Floffy Boys has a Divine 3 carry, a Immortal 5800 at their mid, an Immortal 5600 in their off lane, an Ancient 2/4 player, and a Divine 1/5 player. Whereas Headbonkers has a very different setup. They have an Immortal 5600 as their carry, Divine 5 mid, Divine 5 offlaner, Divine 1/4 position, and an Archon 4. That's got to be Ancient, actually. This has to be a misprint. Yeah, an Ancient Forks is 4K player at their 5 position. So it is a little bit different weighting across the positions. And we see the bands coming out pretty quick here, Steph. We have Phoenix and Clockwork banned by the Headbonkers, and Spectre right off the bat taken out by the Floofer, as they're called in game here, boys.
Of course. Am I able to do my intro really quick, Nance? Or
Of
do you think
course,
that's not
Steph.
appropriate?
Well, I
So,
mean, as long as you don't go too off the rails here, you of course
all
can give
right,
an intro.
all right. You ready, Nance? This is for the Reddit Dota 2 League. All right.
I cannot wait.
Reddit Dota 2 League here, casted with my co-cast Nance, and we're gonna get right into the show. We got Headbonkers versus Floofer Boys. It's gonna be a legendary matchup. Let's get it. Let's go. There we go.
Music to my ears, Steph. And we have the first pick. They have two carries immediately banned out by Floofer Boys and Spec and Void.
Are they
And
gonna
then we
open up
have
with
a
Venge Drow? Sorry, go
possibly
ahead. I'm
they
sorry.
might first phase it. No, it's important to mention here. But they pick Undying on Headbonkers right away, immediately followed up by Vengeful Spirit. And this passes it back over to Headbonkers, who don't take terribly much time, and pick a Tiny. We'll see if we get the Venge Drow first phase by the Floofer Boys. I've seen it in a couple
Headbonkers'
leagues.
first two picks are like legendary, actually. Like, whoa, okay, this is very solid opening right here.
We don't commonly see the Tiny in the mid anymore. This is probably 5-4 for the Headbonkers. And we do. Venge Drought, just like you said, Steph. So they're starting out hot on the Floofer Boys. We've got two carries that know how to mix it up. Excuse me, two heroes that know how to mix it up. One of them is a very,
Yeah,
very strong carry. And they've taken out the Spec already, taken out the Void. Those are two heroes that like to be able to jump on and can effectively jump on
yep.
the Draw Ranger and take her out of a fight.
And I think they might ban PA here. There's the win ban, like I said.
Yep, win ban.
I want to see the PA ban if they're gonna run this Drow Venge first two picks.
Yeah, the
Like we saw our last stream, Nance, PA just kind of dominates this patch, and it's very hard to play.
Yeah,
which Mars is respectable. I like that ban too.
it is tough, and yeah, Mars with a blink, he can keep Drow into a very defined area. His ult has a relatively low cooldown. It's why he's banned in many games. Strong hero overall, but can be very effective against the Drow as well. And certainly, this is going to be position 1 Drow. This is the hero that you are hoping is going to win you the game.
And one thing I also learned recently in the game of Dota and drafting is I heard one of my good friends, Mini Colt, is that usually the carry wants a good carry matchup versus each other. So I would kind of like to see maybe a. I think I just kind of want to see them pick PA here on the Headbonkers, third pick. And then worry about this off lane, because if they can shut down this Drow, PA farms a lot faster than what Drow does once she gets that Battle Fury.
That is true. Drow Vengeful, though, if you're not careful in the off lane, it can actually present problems for a lot of heroes. Drow is not commonly thought of as a extremely strong laning hero, but with Venge with her in lane, only a couple levels is needed before they can actually take over a fair number of lanes. And this is a very carry-favored patch. So maybe in the next patch this will be a little bit different, but this is already a strong lane start for Floofer, and I'll be very interested to see what the off lane kind of choice of the night will be for the Headbonkers.
So if you're playing offlane, Nance, I know you played offlane a couple times, or that's what you used to play. Is there any good offlane heroes that you've seen versus Venge Drow? Nature's Prophet, I would assume, is one of them.
I honestly, so you're right. I used to play a fair amount of offlane. I haven't really, and again, I'm taking my noob skill level into account. There's nothing that I see on a regular basis that is extremely powerful against him. Something that can kind of harass the Venge, like distract and harass the Venge out of lane, can be preferred. Neither one of them has the Dispel, so if you put some sort of debuff on them that they can't take out, Venge's attack range isn't super strong until she gets leveled up in her passive. But there is kind of no one great answer to this combination, because if you do get out of position, they punish it in a hurry.
Yes, of course. If you get out of position on either side, I mean, if Drow gets out of position, you're hopping on her, and if they get out of position, Drow is going to slaughter you in that lane. And once you die once, it is so easily just a chain feed versus Venge Drow.
Of course. I honestly, one of the things, and I know it's very greedy, but one of the things I've actually seen work in the lower brackets, and we've tried it, and I successfully in our MD2L, is we actually did a Sven +1 lane, a Sven off lane. And it's good against Drow as the game goes on, because you can get to the Eggs status, but you need to have a hero like a Lina or something that outranges and very much can give Vengeful Spirit a tough time, right? Now, I don't think at this level that work nearly as well, but you have to do something a little bit cheeky like that in most cases, because there's not a surefire way to win that lane. And now we do see the next picks coming out, again, very quick on Headbonkers. So we have Snapfire picked up by Floofer, and Underlord is the answer for Headbonkers. Underlord is very tanky boy, right? He can reduce damage, but again, if you get out of position, the Venge W plus the Drow extra damage will cut through the Underlord's standard builds. It's not a end-all be-all. It is a tanky boy, but this guy can still be harassed by this very strong safe line.
And I feel like with this Underlord pick too, that they also have kill in this lane. If Drow and Venge step up, that toss plus this stun by Tiny, or the combo with Tiny, is plus Underlord's W, because now when you're playing Underlord offlane, you get a skill in your W at level 4, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I would think you'd get that here in this lane too.
Levels in Q, and Drow will die. So, which it more favors the Drow Venge lineup, of course, but if this Drow player isn't careful, they can kind of steal this lane if they play well enough.
Yeah, Underlord's Q is interesting, right? Because it is a bit of percentage-based damage, but when it does have some base damage to it, and when you do have to sit in it, or if you are forced to sit in it one way or the other, it can actually add up on your lower health heroes certainly as well. These picks are coming out at lightning speed from what we've seen in our both Division 1 and certainly our PST Sunday games. We have Beastmaster picked up, certainly for an offlaner for Floofer boys. And Ember Spirit picked up for Headbonkers, assumed to be mid from what we can see at this point in time. A very quick ban as well. The Viper is taken out of the pool from the Headbonkers, and now we're on the first ban in the last phase for Floofer boys.
I think if we're Floofer, I think we ban PA here. You have a very aggressive right-clicking lineup. I mean, Snapfire is kind of a counter to PA, but into a certain extent early game. But eventually, this PA is gonna buy a BKB, and plus you have Tiny early game to stop that snap, and the Ember to stop the snap, and Underlord to get out of the fights and reset
Correct me
fights.
if I'm wrong, though. You play more carry than I do these days. Is it PA's pretty weak against Beastmaster in lane, though, right? Later on, she can beat up Beastmaster, but I thought in lane, Beastmaster gives her some fits.
It's undying with PA. Like they will pop. It's a snap. It's double strength.
I suppose
And
that's true.
Once she gets E, I mean, you can always go 2-1-2, and then get your level and ulti as PA. And the Beastmaster, it's not ideally a good lane for PA, but if you go that 2-1-2, she can fare that lane. And I feel like Undying, once he gets these decay stacks, can kind of harass them out and win this lane for them.
Well, we'll have to see how it actually works out here. We do have a Kunkka banned by the Headbonkers, and on the side of Floofer Boys, they ended up taking out Lifestealer and Sven. So, unsurprisingly, taking out carries, that appears to be the last position Headbonkers is going to pick, and those are tier heroes they don't want to see. They know to be left in the PA you've been talking about, but they did take out the Sven, which I had mentioned before, is once he has eggs, it can be a way to get on top of Drow. It may not be the best way, but it is a way to get to the back line if you need to do so.
Which they have a lot of time. They have 2 minutes to think of this pick.
No, of course, yeah. These picks have been very, very quick. And Headbonkers, I mean, for the side of Headbonkers, they had literally their entire reserve time basically coming into this.
Ricky's always good, but he can get ran down, but he can get out of the Beastmaster slow too. Jug's good since Sven's banned. They can pick Jug. Jug's pretty good. But they do have that Roar for a spin.
They have Roar, and Drow doesn't do so bad depending on what kind of setup you have against Jug. Yeah. Again, Drow has certain advantages against all int heroes because you take out the native armor with their ult. But I could see, depending on how they play it, they could come into play.
I'm not sure if they play Lone, but I think Lone's pretty decent here. I mean, they can go greedy with this carry. They have a very non-greedy lineup on the side of Headbonkers.
Yeah, you assume in this lineup, Ember's going to be your playmaker, right? Early on, this is going to be Ember plus the rest of the team, and your carry is going to farm up.
Right, and if the side of Floofer Boys, I'm not sure how much Headbonkers, who can play Ember Spirit on their team if their carry can play it, but you can always stick Ember in the safe lane if they counter it mid.
Yeah, that rotation I think would work. I have concerns if they do that on the late game impact, right? I think you'd still put yourself on a timer because I do believe Drow eventually would outfarm an Ember Spirit. Like an Ember Spirit 6-slotted against a Drow that is well underfarmed. Certainly, the Ember Spirit has advantages to jumping on top of the hero, but I think, pound for pound, if a game goes quote unquote as planned, you would not like to see Drow against you as an Ember Spirit carry in the late game.
Well, it kind of depends. If you go full on ADS on the Ember Spirit, yeah, I like that actually.
There we go, a Phantom Lancer.
But if you were to go like full on carry build on Ember Spirit, like Daedalus, Desos, shit like this, like Drow shouldn't be able to last till late game if you play it correctly.
I do think there certainly is a skill and itemization factor to that matchup. The Phantom Lancer, though, has the Phantom Rush, has an improved Phantom Rush as a talent later on in the game. Could possibly be ways that you get onto the back line.
I like the Lash. Nope, they picked Timber.
Interesting. Timber Saw.
Might be a snap mid.
I'm thinking this is snap mid. I was going to say the exact same thing. I think it might be a snap mid and a.
So it can't.
Oh no, you're right. Well, no. Yeah, actually, yeah, we're getting too cute. It's got to be a snap mid, or excuse me, a Timber Saw mid. This will be interesting though. I like the way this is shaping up. I'm sorry.
It's all right, but once Phantom Lancer gets this defusal, it's kind of hard for Timber.
Yeah, it will be.
Mana's just drained.
In the early game, though, right? The illusions, especially like that kind of 6 to 12 range, he kind of just feeds Timber stacks, right? If you try to fight him, and he can clear out your illusions very, very easily with his number of AOE spells. But later on, he will be pretty low on mana. He'll be high on armor because he'll have a ton of reactive stacks, but you can burn through his mana quite quickly.
And I think I favor Headbonkers draft. If it goes late game, I think I favor him. If they are able to like win this bot lane and win mid, I think it's The game's gonna be pretty hard. I feel like they're gonna up the pressure, and Floofer boys can take it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they play this because I think both sides have a defined advantage at certain timings, but this is a very timing heavy game. If the Floofer boys come online, what we'll call relatively early, and Timber kind of just possesses the lane and the other four become active, four inclusive of Drow, I think they could have some success. However, if you kind of wait too long on that and you go against the Headbonkers who bring your kind of PL online very early, I think they could pose a lot of problems for their opponents because it's almost a five-man lineup at that point, right? Both Ember and PL, once he has the Fusel, could become very, very active. With that said, we'll run through the lineup here for both teams, and we have on PL here, starting with our kind of hero in blue, Phantom Lancer, played by Ja. Working in order by position, we have Ember Spirit, played by Zan. On the Underlord, we have Seneclol. On the Tiny, the position 4, we have as Ile. And then the Undying, who is played by, his name is JM here, covered up there, as we have a little bit of Battle Bottom, playing the position 5. I will give you a second to read through the dire here after we see this break up a little bit, Steph.
And then,
go ahead, sir.
Of course, in order, we got Drow Ranger, played by Off. And we have their mid player. His name is he's playing their Timber.
Yeah, we displayed as 3Y.
3Y. Yep. And then we got in their offlaner, we have Beastmaster, and his name is Sheep. And then the position 4, we have Snapfire, played by Morgo. And in the position 5, we have Vengeful Spirit, played by Rise.
Yes, sir. And we're going to see some rotations here. We saw a little Go ahead.
Are you watching Venge right now?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. So I'm on your camera then. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you can, and I can, if you want my camera in Discord, and I can, you can use the in-game for whatever you like. Whatever way you prefer here, we can do it up. Venge is making his way back top, just double-checking that they did, in fact, get the rune. Sometimes you get that rune later. A lot of harass here on the Drow right off the bat.
Yeah, and I think this might win their lane a little bit.
Actually, this is pretty interesting, yeah. The Underlord, I can't argue with his decision, just securing all of his farm there. He basically got almost all those last hits. Speaking of last hits, I should have those displayed. PL also doing a fantastic job last hitting in this first wave bottom. Hit. And the lane is pushing, though, so it is going to go kind of into our Snapfire Beastmaster combo. Undying with 12 stacks early. Very well played. And Boots on the Undying, too. You'll be able to run at him a little bit. We do have a short pause here. We can check through, excuse me, as I take a sip of water here. See if any of these builds have kind of anything weird to them. Tiny with Boots, no surprise there. Underlord, pretty standard. Very standard on Ember. Undying, we already highlighted. Vengeful, nothing to do there. Yeah, it looks like most heroes are doing pretty much straightforward builds, except the Undying. Yeah, I would say the Undying Boots is pretty uncommon. And it appears he has, I mean, eventually, right, he'll get a lot of stuff early, but he does have Arcane Boots queued up on the Undying too. That can sometimes be a bit of a greedy build. We'll see how it ends up working out. I play a good amount of 5 position, and when I play Undying, in almost all games, you really kind of have to, for lack of a better term, opt for the Tranquil Boots and find other ways to get your mana regen. But if you can get to the Arcane Boots, it can pay massive dividends through the rest of the mid-game.
Nance, are you where are you at on the camera? Are you?
I was just sitting bottom. Now I just went to mid.
Okay, then I'm gonna disconnect real quick.
Okay, and if you want, I can put it in Discord too. Whatever's easiest. We are still sitting here with the Underlord disconnected, so we're just going to wait till the other side of this pause, for lack of a better term. I didn't realize how close Vengeful and Tiny were to one another. They will trade some hits here for sure. Vengeful does opt for the Magic Missile level 1. I think that's probably the safest build on the hero. In lane, it can certainly break up or stop an aggression by the Tiny. or disrupt what they want to do, which can be very, very helpful. Cynic Lull is back in the game on the Underlord, so we are going to come out of pause as we speak here. We'll bounce between bottom and top lanes. I don't believe we'll see a lot of kills mid, so we'll probably not check on that lane that much. Undyne's up to 16 strength. He now hits with a lot of extra damage and can cause a lot of problems for these two dire heroes. PL just trying to farm up as he goes. Almost at that Wraith Band. We'll have to send it out, of course, from base. Up to 20 now temporarily on the Undyne. Not sure a lot will come out of it, unfortunately, for the Radiant, but it is good early harass. Undyne looking to get a nice pull off this early on the hard camp, and it appears he will get a full pull. He does. Well played by him. PL attempting to do his best to contest some last hits to make space for that pull, and does so with some exchange of help. And Undyne dropped down to merely 4 strength.
And the Vengeful Sphere might die top.
Going to top. Tiny is chasing. Vengeful is low, does have a salve. We'll see if she decides to use it here shortly. Drow getting her last hits all the way in the back of the lane here. Sentry ward out. Hopefully we'll get this D ward. Hopefully for Vengeful, that is. Of our camp that's being blocked here. And whoop, that's a nice little influx of gold. Nice little decrease in vision. This may be a little bit of song and dance. I'll try to watch that health as best I can. Hopping back down to the bottom lane to see how our PL's doing against the combination of Snapfire and Beastmaster. Another attempt at a pull here. Looks like, oh, yes, it will be disrupted. The big Centaur did not quite go at first. And this, again, we might be a bit
top
here.
She might be dead. She's dead.
Get there right as she died. Perhaps this is the lane, the better lane to watch. The Undyne has kind of gone low on mana, so not going to be potentially a lot of kill potential in the bottom lane. But we do get the first blood going to the Tiny rather than the Underlord. That's actually a nice little influx, right? It's always nice to get the Tranquil Boots up early on Tiny. Helps rotations. Helps a lot of things, really, on the hero. It does kind of just let you concentrate on getting your mana regen, which is paramount on being able to do stuff on that hero on a regular basis. Good little pull by the Tiny here.
On a double stack. In Discord, Nance?
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Fix.
Okay, you should be good to go in Discord. We'll have a skirmish bottom again, though. No one's really that low. It's just kind of a back and forth with trading of farms. Checking on the mid lane here. We do have Timber with 18-7 to Ember's 18-2. Not bad, honestly. Pretty good for both sides. Yeah. Timber's low on health, but he's gaining it back pretty quickly. Because of those reactive armor stacks. A little bit of contest. Both are heading towards the bottom room. Tiny is closer to the top room if the case that's where it spawns. And it does. So Tiny's going to be able to secure that or at a minimum take it for his team. And his Tranquil Boot's already done at 4 minutes. And he does slow that Timbersaw down. We will secure that room for the Ember for some much needed mana and resources.
And I love 4 players that rotate to runes. Makes such a big difference, especially when you have a little bit of a hard lane as the Ember versus the Timber.
And especially when there's 2 bottle builders, right?
Better. Yep.
And that's exactly. They both went early bottle, and they both knew it by that point. So great rotation out of the Tiny. Underlord could be harassed here, so he's going to try to get out of dodge. Tiny is behind if something interesting happens here, but it looks like that will not be the case. I always like to see what Vengeance get as their second skill point. We do have a Wave of Terror. Again, I think that's probably the safest build on the hero. And we'll go up here to Drow as she attempts to last hit and is doing so very, very nicely. 5-minute runes. We'll see how much the split is as we see bottom PL getting very, very low. He may go down. He, in fact, does. And Undyne might be able to kill. Oh, gets the salve off. I think this is going to be her salvation, for lack of a better term, and Undyne goes down as well. Great set of double kills in the bottom lane for Beastmaster and Snapfire. That's going to give them a nice little influx. They do use a significant amount of their mana resources here, so they have to find a way to get that back up so they can fight again. Beastmaster, unsurprisingly, going right into the Necro Book, which will give him some nice mana regen, speaking of mana. But Snapfire is going to have to find somebody to get the resources back, and that way is going to be a walk home. Top lane, a little bit of a skirmish as well. Nothing too crazy here, though. Everyone's still at full health. It's more of a dance, a standoff, if you will. If you check the list hits, again, very quickly highlighting our middle matchup here where there's a nice little back and forth going on. We have Timber at 29-9 and Ember at 25-6. And Timber with a great play to take down the Ember Spirit. That's very big for the Timber. That's what you want to see if you're a Timber player. And the runes potentially just spawned. It went bottom. Timber should be able to get this before Tiny gets there, even with the Tranquil Boots. And it is an Arcane rune, which is an especially hot rune for Timber, even this early.
Yep. And now Tiny kind of sees that he's rotating bottom, and they might need to be a little careful down here.
Absolutely. They've already died twice in this lane. This could be trouble. Probably drop the Tombstone here if I'm undying, if you can. Just barely gets it off. They're going to concentrate on it. Timber's down here as well. PL's going to try to get the kill here. Not going to be successful. May save his life in the process. Okay, Drow dies top while we're watching this. That's a big kill for them too. Timber diving under tower. PL extremely low and gets punched in the face by Timber.
Good rotation by the Ember though. Cutting off that Drow's farm. And the Timber Saw rotated.
And might get Underlord for it, too. He will, absolutely.
Oh, never mind. That's actually decent.
So while we saw the 2 kills bottom, there were 2 kills going on top, and they were able to kill both of the safe laners on the side of the Dire. Vengeful and Drow going down at the same time as the 2 heroes losing their lives bottom and the Undying in the PL. And then Timber immediately TPing top after the kill on PL and getting the kill on Underlord. Big plays, great rotations out of our Timber Saw. Underlord TPing back to top lane, as you might expect. Ember and Drow trading some hits and some farm. Oh, Tiny diving deep. This could be a huge kill if they get it again. She just died. Oh, the chains don't land, unfortunately.
But I think this is kind of like this lane switch though by the Dire. Like Drow can, now that she has 6, can just kill the Ember if he wants to, and she can lane versus him right now. If she doesn't overstep.
Yeah, you just have to be a little careful, but I agree. This could work out to be a fortuitous lane swap. PL's still not level 6, unfortunately. The Snapfire has basically the same levels, even more so than the PL. That's a bit problematic, unfortunately.
Yep.
They don't have a lot of mana, though, so the ability of the Dire to jump on the Radiant in this lane has gone down. Snapfire is TPing out. Your Observer misses another kill. Apologies on that. Drow going down mid in exchange for the Tiny. That's a fine trade on the side of the Radiant. And this Timber is in problematic territory already.
And I didn't realize this, so I look at these heroes, and this is actually a really good Timber game. Holy crap. They have, no magic damage at all. They have to, survive the late game or hope that he just kind of, dives really hard, or else this is a really good Timber game.
And he's had a good enough start early that he is already a threat, right? This is what you need to have if you have a Timber. He doesn't necessarily have to crush the lane against Ember Spirit. I think he's competitive in it either way. But not only was he competitive, he more or less won the lane by at least a handful of last hits and denies, and then rotated fantastically.
He got 4 kills.
Right.
Actually. He total killed mid.
Oh, he's in a little bit of trouble here. He's got a good amount of stacks. We'll see if he gets out. He does for now. Ember's still looking to dive under the tower, eating some hits. Ember has to back off. Undying now in trouble. He's gone quite deep. We're going to have another combo here very, very shortly. He tries, but there's not enough units. It doesn't actually do enough damage, magical damage on the Soul Rep. There's not enough stuff nearby. I like the idea. Unfortunately, didn't have enough units nearby to kind of change execution. Now, Vengeful's going to get some nice gold here by killing that Tombstone. Beast Smasher pushing the bottom tower. It will I believe it should still go down. Let's watch the tower here. Extra points for last hit with the boar. Not quite, but that's all right. Very, very tough to do. A little bit of song and dance top as we have some.
Top tower falls, and this is gonna create a lot of space for this PL, but also the bot tower fell too.
Right, we do have both safe lane towers out of the game at this point. The mid towers, though, are at very, very good health on both sides of the river, so we have a kind of even rotation. But you have this kind of massive block on your Timber Saw protecting whatever tower he's around at the time. With no fear at all, jumped in the middle. 3 heroes. We'll see if he pays for this. Timber getting quite low. He does have a regen rune if he's able to get out of this and pop it. He is going to do so right now. And now they're just going to back out at least temporarily. Timber throwing out his chakram to slow any pursuit down, but there is no pursuit from the Radiant. This is kind of interesting to me, Steph. This is a very intriguing, at least to me, song and dance. We do have the Necro book finished on the Beastmaster. PL's still quite far from a Diffusal Blade, and in fact, opting for the Manta first, which they do have some silence, of course, with their Drow Ranger. That is something you do not want to have to deal with. Yep. So pretty good to be able to pop that and doppelgang out of whatever else the Dire team wants to do to you.
And I think this PL is going to have to rotate eventually and help in these fights.
Yeah, the kind of fairy tale beginning to the PL's game didn't really happen there, right? If he was able to get a Diffusal before he needed the Manta, like we were talking about in the draft, that would be great for them to be able to fight. They'd actually be able to fight his 5 on the side of the Radiant. It looks like he's going to have to farm up this Manta before he's kind of overly effective.
He's doing a good job of following him into the jungle.
This Undying could be in a little bit of trouble here, but never mind. Ember is right behind to kind of contest that. Does take down a sentry, and Undying has to use another. That really stinks when you're a support hero.
And this Timber is very deep. They should try and punish him, but it looks like they're going for a rotation top in their jungle.
Yeah, this jungle fight is pretty interesting. We'll see what they get out of it. Good swap by the Vengeful. Tossing in the Ember right on top of the Drow. They've got to try to save her. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to. She detonates.
And it looks like this Venge is going to go down too.
Does get the tomb before she goes down, but she's in a bit of trouble. Now with Timber here, though, this is a very different fight.
It's just scary.
Ember says, hey, I'm out of here. Undying trying to run on out. Does not get and he's kind of slow applied by Snapfire, and they're kind of heading back to their safety of their mid lane and onto their mid tier 1 tower.
Yep, and the Beastmaster's pressuring bot, which is good. And it looks like they're going to just keep up the pressure on the Dire, which I like, which they need to do.
I will highlight on the net worths here. We have Timber number 1, Beastmaster right behind him, number 2. PL is in number 3 spot with kind of almost nearly even with Ember and Underlord, and then Drow's right there too. That is a big kill. That is
really big for Ember.
452 gold, a fair amount of experience, I have to imagine. Yes, 1,200 for the Radiant Heroes. That's big. I have no other word for it. That's really big. Just got a little too aggressive in the mid lane.
Cleared a lot of space for this PL.
How is PL doing on that Manta? Looks like the Yasha's on the way out. Unfortunately, they place a fresh ward down under Dire Vision. That will almost certainly be denied very, very quickly or killed, and they have their own vision back here, so they see what's going on in this top lane. Vengeful attempting to go kill that ward. May lose her life for it, though, if she's not too careful. She's surrounded, or quote-unquote surrounded, by a number of heroes. She is going to get it.
And she might die for this.
Yep, they do try to go on her. Tiny with the combo, and she detonates, as you might imagine.
Yep.
Tons of magic damage on the side of the Radiant when they need to use it. Beastmaster, though, is still farming up a storm.
Yep.
He's at a Necro 2, just purchased his Necro 3.
Yeah, and one thing that you want on this, and I like what Underlord's doing, he's just sitting bot, making sure that this Beastmaster can't take the tower.
Yeah, he's almost kind of ironically playing a Timber-like role for the Radiant, right? You can't take my tower. I'm just going to sit here and prevent you from taking my resources, my objectives.
But this jungle is just being overrun by these heroes, and it looks Radiant's not trying to do anything about it.
I'm not sure what they can do, honestly. I don't disagree with your assessment, but I think it's very tough for them. The Necro 3 is delivered for Beastmaster. Big power spike for him. Should still be on cooldown, though. I saw him use his Necro 2s very, very recently. It is. And now Timber seems to set his sights again on the middle lane. He'll just have to be careful not to get overly aggressive again to maintain his livelihood. Does get a Yule Scepter that'll help a lot, too.
On the Radiant, because this Beastmaster can solo kill anybody on the map. Maybe besides Underlord.
If he has his Necro books up, he does a lot of damage.
Yep, and we got a smoke on the Radiant, and they look like they're going to go for the Drow, and if the Drow isn't careful, she's going to get picked.
Zooming out here to see the full play. This looks real good.
Maybe not, no.
It's not enough.
Yep, and she's dead.
I don't know if that silence would have saved her either way, but it certainly didn't land on enough heroes for it to make a big difference there. Top over the bottom lane, we do see the Beastmaster pop his Necro books again. Pretty strong push coming in bot. I don't know what the Radiant's going to do about it. We have Underlord hiding back here. Does drop down, but now we know he is there, and we drop the ult. He gets roared. He gets Snapfire ulted. He goes down. This tower is almost for sure sacrificed. We have the Beastmaster units. We have a catapult. Very, very tough to defend, but they're going to try.
They can defend this actually now. Beastmaster has no ulti, low health. Like, they just need to get out, and this Venge might die if she doesn't start TPing now.
I'll fully admit I'm a little surprised they did the rotation, but it worked out better than I expected. And like you accurately said, Beastmaster out of resources, needs to back off, and he did so. Good. That was a good call, Steph. DD Bottom River, if anyone cares to check it out. Timbersaw, again, looking to keep this middle pressure on.
And I think for this Ember Spirit, next item is probably Yule's. Oh, he's going straight BKB.
He's straight BKB. Snapfire looks like she's building into a Glimmer Cape. Check the rest of it. We have a...
that Yule's picked up, headed on to a Lotus Orb.
Pretty good this game, I would say.
Yep.
Drow is looking to get her... Well, she has her Yasha. She's going to go for a Dragon Lance next into an eventual Hurricane Pike.
PL is about to have his Manta.
It's a big timing for him. We are going to get a kill on Vengeful here, which we're watching passively.
Undying might just solo die to this. Nope.
Check in on the Undying.
And this Ember players in this tiny, they're doing so much work. They're just rotating and rotating and rotating.
And Beastmaster and Timbersaw are maintaining their net worth lead. PL has made a decent ways catching up to them, but still the kings of the farm right now are just barely Beastmaster and Timbersaw. Sentry dropped down mid, but unfortunately it's in range of a sentry. Just barely out of range there for the Obs.
Yep.
And again, Timber just keeping Slane pushed in, but
now.
Yeah, there's a lot more magic damage in this game.
Yeah, he has Maelstrom now. He needs to be careful.
He's able to connect out of there. Snapfire coming to rotate just in case. And no pursuit out of the Radiant. Nice Arcane Room for Timbersaw. And we just kind of get this standoff. Neither team wants to lose their middle tower, so
no,
they're both going to kind of do this song and dance mid to make sure that doesn't happen.
But this PL is at top of net worth now. He's farming incredibly fast.
Yeah, this was a very similar build from what Apex did 2 weeks ago when we casted their game, right? He was able to get the Manta up and then farm extremely efficiently on this hero. And was able to get to the Diffusal next, as is the build currently selected, and then kind of go from there and really become a force to contend with in the game. Tiny's going to go down. Undying may also lose his life. Great roar by the Beastmaster. That's going to melt your Ember Spirit. They're going to get the Tombstone Gold. That's a big-time fight for the Dire. And now they're going to Roche straight up.
He has Medallion up.
Yep, Medallion. We have our Beastmaster units, and of course we have the Wave of Terror.
Gosh, it just melts.
And between Beastmaster and Timber, I think you have more than enough tank. This is free. There's no contest. I mean, they can't, right? They lost 3 heroes, so there's no contest expected.
And they're going to get mid-tower for this, most likely.
Ooh, PL gets a Ring of Aquila, too. Nice Tier 2 item.
But this Drow is slowly catching up.
Yep, and she's able to push pretty effectively. They do kind of set up a small blockade mid to kind of stifle any further aggression, but I don't think Dire's planning on doing that anyway. Ooh, PL and Beastmaster trading hits. How quick we have Roar up here? 20 seconds. Dire does back off, though. They have all 5 heroes here, so if they did want to fight, they have the resources to do it. Again, your Drow has her Aegis.
How do you like this Crimson Guard on Underlord?
Oh, I don't mind it at all. We already have a strong level Necro book on the Beastmaster. I think it's pretty good here. It provides some level of armor against a Drow. Excuse me. It takes off a lot of the ability for the smaller units to do hits. I think it's a very strong item pickup in this game. Mechanism as well, right? A little bit more armor. Great idea from Snapfire to try to get the neutral creep stun. Didn't end up working out, but that's a great place to have your head at when you're playing Snapfire. Those kind of cheeky plays that aren't necessarily expected usually work out pretty well. And again, we kind of go back into standoff mode. We do have all the spells up for the side of Dire, and they do have Aegis, so I would be surprised if they don't get a little bit aggressive here in the next couple of minutes. Timber just boldly going where no Timbersaw has gone before. He's in the middle 4 heroes.
Yeah,
This man could use some help. See if he gets swapped out. He does get swapped out, but he's still going to die. Undying goes down. Beastmaster's here. Yeah, Beastmaster deciding what target he wants. Goes on Tiny. Tiny is melting. Thank God for that mechanism. Jeez. They're going to sacrifice the Vengeful on her second swap. Beastmaster's not going to get out either. This is a little bit of a unfortunate play, but they might get Ember for the troubles. They do. That makes it a little bit less troublesome. And this Drow's hitting hard. What's Tiny going to do about this? Tiny's going to die. Okay, I would say they salvaged that fight pretty well, wouldn't you?
Yep, and PL's just split pushing top. He's going to get the tower for it.
It is still a mid and an offlane on the side of Dire they killed, but they eventually get the mid and both supports from Radiant. So again, I'm confident you would still consider the win for the Radiant in terms of fights, but it looked real bad, and they were able to salvage some more kills out of it. Checking our buddy PL. How's he doing?
He has his defusal up.
Accused Biscotti next.
Biscotti, I like it.
He's able to get the Shrine. Excuse me. Outposts, as they're called now, because they took down the tier 2. Dire playing, I would say exactly where they need to be playing. They're mostly taking over the middle, the kind of the Dire jungle, excuse me, the Radiant jungle, and pressuring the tier 2 mid by keeping that lane pushed in. And eventually, I think their next objective will be the tier 2 bottom, which is still at very low health from that large fight we had much earlier in the game. Kind of item timings we're looking at here. We do have the Glimmer Cape finished on Snapfire, going into the Greaves, strong build. Solar Crest finished on Beastmaster.
Overstepping as
Whoa!
well.
I didn't even think he'd die that quick. That's pretty impressive. We still have Roar up by Beastmaster. PL is here. And this man has some resources to punch people in the mouth. Goes in on the Beastmaster. We'll see who can kill who. Oh, great swap out. We still have Roar up. He's going to walk back in. He's going to die, though. He's not going to be able to get the spell off. And now Vengeful's running out on the cover of Glimmer Cape. We do lose the Aegis on Drow. Snapfire is still being beat down. She's about to go down. Vengeful is dying. And Drow's going to lose her second life. This is going to be a full team wipe on the side of... Just barely not. For Radiant. Drow gets out by just the tip of what health bar she has left. But that's basically... It's still 5 deaths, right? We lost Aegis.
And just like I said, they cannot fight without this Timber. If this Timber gets blown up and is out of position like he's been... It's very hard for them to fight.
And that's the tier 2 mid. That's a good amount of map control given back. And Tiny jumps in, tosses him back. This Timber's in trouble. Wow, this is big time trouble. This Timber went from being in a commanding position to the 5th highest net worth, falling behind a lot of heroes that you do not want to fall behind in net worth when you're playing Timber.
Yep, and this game is very hard for the Dire.
Yeah, I don't know what's the change here. I know Timber obviously has to play a little bit more conservative now that his mortality's been made apparent, but he kind of still has to be the front line, right? We're not going to have Beastmaster frontlining. That's not the way that hero wants to play. I mean, he is eventually going to come into a Blink Dagger, so Blink Stun's in play, but Timber's kind of stuck being your frontliner for what heroes we have available on the Dire. Perhaps a smoke up here as the Dire team groups up. We'll see.
I mean, if they catch this Timber without any armor stacks, he's just gonna get blown up.
Yeah, he actually switched back for the Shivas, opting for that or instead of the Lotus Orb, and he does not have the plate mail yet, so that'll be helpful.
Yep.
Got a value cloak.
But his mana's just gonna get drained by this Phantom Lancer. Once Phantom Lancer gets Scotty,
there's a
it's
smoke.
gonna be a very hard game for Timber, and looks like the Dire smoke up.
Yeah, they really want this to work.
And they need to find more than just Undying. If they find Undying is gonna do a really good job of scouting this out. Even if he dies, it's okay.
He's got a Glimmer Cape. It's possible. No, not even close. Too much damage.
But that's fine. Like, you're happy to tank that gank. That's like, they have to start fighting on Dire and win a team fight.
I agree with you. I think that's a great
harder
trade.
And harder and harder. This PL is just sweeping away in net worth.
Ember pushed up, cutting the mid wave. Very, very smart by him. Has a bottled DD rune, too. That's worthy mentioning. Doesn't quite finish off the whole wave. Jumps out. Spidey sense was tangling. And Dire resets a bit. Underlord has Greaves. Great armor, especially at low health. Has his Crimson Guard. Very, very tanky hero. Can make his allies tanky too. Tiny, Ghost Scepter, Blink Dagger. He's ready to initiate fights. PL, about halfway, we'll call it, to his Scotty. Ember Spirit going for an Ag Scepter next after his finished BKB, which is still at 10 seconds. Undying has the Arcane Glimmer Cape.
And man, this PL is doing such a wonderful job of just shoving this top lane constantly.
Yeah, he's definitely forcing some rotations out of the Dire team that I think they'd prefer to not have to do in such frequency or with that many heroes. We do have the finish Hurricane Pike up on Drow. That's a little extra safe for her. He'll almost be able to buy out this Vlad's in a few gold here on the Beastmaster if he so desires. Depends on how he feels about his buyback. Pretty close to Greaves on Snapfire. That's a nice big item. And again, getting very close to plate mail on our Timber Saw. Smoked up here. Underlord does drop his spells. We'll see if they can get on top of the Timber. I'm not really sure with that kind of setup that'll be enough. Timber boldly moving forward, though. He's not afraid.
Yeah, he has some big.
I believe as Duke Nukem once said, balls of steel.
Yes, he's letting his nuts hang now.
Again, standing this mid lane, we see a couple of heroes collected, and Big Daddy PL over here is saying, I'm gonna consider this. You hang around, but Timber does go back to the side of the lane, keeps himself alive. Double TP to the bottom lane here. Perhaps they're setting up for some sort of push or some sort of smoker fight.
They might. Never mind, they're not. Looks like they're just content on.
They're pinging out the Timber Saw.
Oh, they see the Timber.
And he's deep. This is trouble for Timber. This man is looking like he's in trouble.
To just
get out of here.
Yeah.
Not enough. The Timber Chain is not going to save you there.
If this Timber's getting popped by Undying, Tiny, and Underlord, that is very, very bad for the Dire.
I don't even know. What's the... I assume at this point you finish the Shivas, right? Like, that's a pretty important item. But I almost think, like, there's a decent amount of magic damage, right? Got to go Hood next, I would think, right?
Yeah, now that these guys got levels in the supports, like, Soul Rip's going to do a ton of damage. The Tiny's
huge magic
15.
combo.
Yeah, he has a huge magic combo. Plus the Ember going Maelstrom, that's more magical damage. Plus his Flame Guard.
That's a finished Scotty MPL.
Chains, like, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, this has become a very tough Timber game in not so long of a time.
I kind of would like to see the Dire go a pipe on somebody.
I mean, if the Dire go pipe, it's almost got to be. Well, I guess Beastmaster's farming so well, you could probably justify it.
Yep, and they smoke on the Dire. Looks like they think they're going Roche, but Roche is actually spawned up now. Tiny scattered it out with his courier, but looks like a fight's about to happen.
Drow's technically running in first there. We've got to get Drow out of here before she gets popped, and I'm not sure she's getting out in time.
By the Tiny.
She is. Ember jumps her. She's in trouble. Vengeful is dead. Drow is up next. She is, Glimmer Cape, the jumping and weaving. Beastmaster with a great stun on Ember, who is BKB'd. PL is not fooled. Gets the kill, and now Timber's in the middle of a bunch of heroes is going to die. Timber melting, great Snapfire ult as she's raining down fire on just about everyone she can. Double buyback, but Underlord is Ubering him out of there. We're going home.
And if they try and take Roche, it's going to be a
Ember's
bad
TPing right back in.
They don't have Timber. They cannot take Roche.
Cancels the TP.
The Dire.
Yeah, Roche, this is the objective to speak about. Drow walks right in, and PL is there. We see them. Tiny walks in with the combo. Drow's in a whole lot of trouble. She's got to get out of here. She's stuck in the pit. She's stuck back behind Roche. She's dead. Oh, no. Beastmaster's dead, too. This is turning into a rout. This is big time trouble. Tiny just walking at the Vengeful, possibly tossed back to Underlord. Sets up the stun, roots her down. Venge is pretty much dead.
But there's a Sentry Ward.
There's Sentry Ward, and he has another one if they need it, right? Oh, they just did use the last one here. Underlord has his spells very, very short. We have our toss-up shortly. This Venge is dead.
We have another W soon, Pit of Malice. And it looks like he's dead.
That's double dieback.
Free rush for PL.
And PL almost has it.
He finished, and he's going to have Basher by the time all the rest of the heroes are up.
This is trouble.
Yeah, this Tiny and Ember are just playing really, really good this game.
Their target selection is great. They're setting up the fights well. I would say I think Dire needs to be very, very careful what heroes they have in the front line. Drow led in on that fight. Vengeful tried to stay in front of her as best she could, and I could see the eagerness. Like, it was a potential great fight by what they could see. But if your carry dies, your damage dies that early, it's going to be very, very problematic. And when your carry's that far forward, a lot of heroes got to take a lot of risks to try to keep them alive. And clearly there, it did not work out. So now we have a 6K net lead on the side
What I
radiant.
wanted to point out before a fight happens is, PL is deep. Oh my God, he just sold. Oh.
Good save by Snap, but she's going to die for her troubles. And Tiny found him. Amber found him.
Yeah.
This is incredible. They're just diving. Tier 4s. No fear. PL in the fountain. Going for Drow. PL pops the cheese. He's man fighting Drow using Doppelganger. Looks like he's going to melt the Vengeful. Drow's still in trouble.
Oh my
Tossed out by Tiny. Great silence by Drow, but it's not going to be enough. She's going to die again.
This is
And they call the GG. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they would have called GG too.
There are no tier 3s down. There are no tier 4s down, and they are diving the fountain.
I love this series. This series is going to be fun.
Yeah, if there's any sort of motivation you can have, we've all had been fountain dive before, and I think that's going to be some motivation. Headbonkers, BMing, I think it's safe to say, Steph, the Floffy boys with a little bit of fountain diving at the end of this one.
Yep. But one thing I was going to say before the PL started going bonkers, and, like, if you get my drift, Headbonkers, or, diving the base, like, it is very hard to execute a Drow versus Vengeful Spirit lineup in this type of, like, if you could say high MMR team coordination, if you want to call it that. Like, if this Venge isn't, like, getting this Drow out, and you don't ban what you're supposed to be banning, and you don't have more than just a save of Venge, like, it's going to be a very hard game for this Drow when you have a Tiny that's playing out of his mind like he did in an Ember Spirit that's going 12-3 after a hard lane. It's hard. Like, you have to be able to save this Drow, and this Drow needs to play in a good position, or it's going to be very difficult for them.
Yeah, and it's really not so much beating on the Drow. I know we keep mentioning the Drow over and over again. It's a tough game to position on, right? That's not an easy game to play. They have a lot of ways to get on top of you, and that's credit to the way they drafted, right? I've seen plenty of games in my pubs, in my leagues, where Venge Drow runs over other teams. As we talked about in the draft, it can be a very, very strong lane. And they picked enough resources. It might not be the classical stuff, like, oh yeah, I'll pick Spectre, best Spectres in the game, right? We pick these heroes that are the classical Drow counters, but they had enough ways to get on top of the Drow that they were able to maintain and counter it. It looks like they are breaking down the picks and division of resources right away in the second lobby. The second lobby is up. I do not, as just a personal matter, I don't like to show lobby chat. I believe the captains and the team should be able to speak in private. That's why I leave the short break screen up here as they're in lobby. So I will swap this back over once we get into the draft. But they do say they need